Naturalistic Observation by Burdon. For this project, I observed two brothers, ages 3 and 18, in their home and at their local park. I observed them interacting with each other, with their parents, by themselves, and with other kids. Their background, they come from an affluent Christian home. They live in a neighborhood that is primarily or dominantly white, but they have two loving and very present parents. During this observation, the children played at the park on structures. They played at home with blocks and with colored pencils, with markers. They played with race cars, and then they went down for a nap. And this was all during the observation period. Some of my key takeaways. First, for cognitive development, the 18-month-old was continuously learning new things. He would try to understand the incoming information, the new things around him, based off of what he already knew. So this is an example, as Kale and Kavanaugh talk about, of assimilation and accommodation. So one example that I have was we would go on walks a lot, and every time he saw a big box truck or even heard a loud noise, he would yell truck. So assimilation, seeing and hearing it, he's taking this new information of what he's seeing and hearing and putting it into what he already knows. So even though it's a different color or a different size truck, he still knows that it's a truck. However, it comes to accommodation when if he heard a loud motorcycle and yells truck, he has to accommodate, okay, this is a loud car, but it's not a truck, so what is it? So he has to make a new category for himself. The 18-month-old also has a very large head and tiny little legs and feet. So this is an example of physical development that Kale and Kavanaugh talk about. They describe that the head develops first before the hips, legs, and feet have a chance to develop. They say this gives the young children a top-heavy appearance. So this was accurate, very apparent with the 18-month-old. His lower body was still trying to catch up, and his lower body was a lot smaller than his upper body. Socio-emotional development. The 18-month-old has a really good relationship with his dad. Kale and Kavanaugh say that a baby's first relationship is the relationship between the parents or their caregivers. And so the more satisfying and trouble-free this is, the better it is for later in life. So they say that scientists and parents believe that it should be satisfying and trouble-free to set the stage for later relationships. So if this primary relationship with their caregiver is negative, unsatisfying, or troublesome, later relationships in life are going to be negative, troublesome, and unsatisfying. According to Kale and Kavanaugh, between 1 and 3 years old is when the children start to develop independence. This was obvious with the 18-month-old because he very much wanted that independence and he fought for it. He never wanted to be held. He never wanted to be rocked to sleep. He just wanted to go to bed. He wanted to give himself the bottle. He fed himself. He eats. He does everything by himself. So he does not want to accept any help from anyone, really. According to Kale and Kavanaugh, children typically become more self-aware between 15 and 18 months. So this means that they can start feeling more complex emotions, not just the straightforward, happy, sad, scared emotions, but guilt, pride, and embarrassment, more complex. I observed this with the 18-month-old because he was starting to exhibit those prideful or proud emotions. And so, for example, every time he made it up the stairs by himself, he would cheer and be really happy. Every time he put his hands in his pockets, which was really difficult for him, every time he got them in there, he would be really proud of himself. Or another example, his father would hold up building blocks with animals on it and ask what sound they made. And every time he got it right, his dad would cheer and he would smile really big because he knew that he was receiving that approval from his dad for doing something right. So he was proud of himself. Challenges in development. So this year, especially for the 18-month-old, was full of challenges. In developing, there are many ways that a baby can learn. Most of these include classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and imitation. So we're going to focus on imitation. Many children, majority of children, learn from imitating or watching what other children their age are doing, and they repeat them or imitate them. So this year with COVID, since the 18-month-old was born right before COVID hit, his entire first year of life was, he really only had his parents and his brother to look at, to watch, and to imitate and to learn from. So he didn't know what other kids his age were doing. He wasn't able to be around other kids, so he wasn't able to imitate or watch them. My personal experience for this observation, I found it very intriguing and very fascinating to observe these children under the context of what we're reading, to actually put our schoolwork to the test in a way, or to just like really make it applicable, keeping in mind what we're reading and then seeing it in such a tangible way really helped me to understand it. And it really made me curious about how I will be parenting, or how I will encourage or discourage certain behaviors when I know that it's just part of life or that it's a normal part of development, how I will acknowledge those things.